There's something many men don't want to admit. Attraction doesn't disappear overnight. It slowly fades every time you do something that makes you lose respect. At 45, the problem is no longer lack of experience. It's mistaking kindness for weakness or confusing closeness with surrender. At that stage, attraction doesn't die because of one big mistake, but through a series of small actions that make you predictable, overly available, and directionless. And even though you think you're doing it out of love, what you're really showing is neediness. The problem is, most men don't realize it until it's too late, when she no longer listens the same way, when she stops looking at you with that spark she once had. Many men after 45 feel like the game has changed, that the rules aren't the same, and that their old ways of connecting now make them invisible. They try to please, to do things right, to prove they can be reliable partners. But in doing so, they end up dimming the very thing women value most: life energy, direction, that quiet magnetism. They become good men, yes, but without mystery. And mystery, as contradictory as it may sound, is what keeps attraction alive even in a long-term relationship. But there's one uncomfortable truth that can change everything. Respect isn't asked for, it's inspired. And attraction isn't maintained by trying to please, but by holding your frame without fear of losing. If this is your first time here, my name is Celia. I'm a mentor in feminine psychology and relationships, and I help men your age reclaim their personal power and attractiveness without losing ethics or authenticity. In this video, I'm going to show you the most common mistakes men make after 45 and how to avoid them so you can rebuild respect, attraction, and genuine connection. I invite you to subscribe and stay until the end, because I'll reveal the most powerful principle for keeping desire and admiration alive over time, even when routine and the years seem to work against you. Let's begin. One of the biggest mistakes men make after 45 is believing that when a woman trusts them, she's already attracted to them. But confidence and attraction are two different languages. Confidence comes from predictability, from knowing the other person won't fail. Attraction, on the other hand, is born from mystery, tension, that feeling of not having everything guaranteed. When a man tries too hard to be transparent, proper, or understanding all the time, he unknowingly starts to become invisible. She might feel comfortable with you, but that doesn't mean she's attracted. It's the difference between feeling safe and feeling desire. And while safety is essential, desire needs something more. The feeling of being in front of a man with direction and a world of his own. So far, we've seen that confidence is built through respect, but attraction is sparked by energy, and that energy has nothing to do with age, muscles, or money. It comes from presence. A present man doesn't try to convince, please, or explain who he is. He simply is. His words are few, his gestures firm, and his attention complete. Women pick up on this without him saying a word, because the language they read isn't verbal, it's emotional. Confidence makes her stay by your side. Attraction makes her want to move closer. If you only have one of the two, the relationship becomes unbalanced. Many mature men confuse respect with desire. They think that as long as she admires them, the relationship is safe. But admiration without polarity turns into a polite friendship. It's not that she stops loving you, she simply stops seeing you as a man. And at that point, even if she still values you, she no longer feels that spark that once pulled her toward you. This is where so many lose their way. They try to win her back with logic, promises, or explanations, when attraction doesn't respond to reason. It responds to emotion, to contrast, to what she feels when she's in front of you. Reigniting attraction isn't about becoming someone else. It's about regaining your center. It's remembering that confidence comes from keeping your word, while attraction appears when you hold your presence. Don't try to make her trust you more if that means becoming more predictable. Attraction is renewed when she starts seeing you as just unpredictable enough, when she feels she can still discover you, when your energy doesn't fade under her control or criticism. Keeping that healthy tension is what separates a mature man from one who's given up. In the next sections, we'll dive into the specific mistakes that destroy this balance. But before that, keep this in mind. Confidence is the foundation of a relationship. Attraction is its fire. One without the other won't last, but both are fueled by different behaviors. Understanding that difference will save you from losing respect even when you think you're earning it. At 45, you're no longer the same man you were at 30, not just because your body changes, but because your energy, priorities, and the way you connect change too. You're no longer trying to prove yourself, you just want peace. The problem is that this search for calm is often mistaken for stillness, and misunderstood stillness kills attraction. Women can sense when a man has lost his life force, when he no longer has challenges or goals that ignite him. It's not about competing with younger men, it's about keeping your direction alive. What attracts a woman most isn't your age, it's your ability to keep moving forward with purpose. So far, we've seen that attraction fades when masculine energy becomes too predictable. At this stage of life, that happens more often because many men lower their emotional guard. They stop paying attention to their body language, stop updating their style, stop staying curious about the world. They start talking about the past as if the best years were already behind them. And that, without realizing it, projects resignation. Resignation is the antidote to desire. There's nothing more attractive than a man who still hungers to learn, to explore, to grow, not to prove anything, but because he enjoys the process. Mature women, or even younger women drawn to an older man, aren't looking for a savior or protector. They're drawn to a presence that radiates calm and desire at the same time. What attracts them is the blend of wisdom and passion, serenity and mystery. But when that man loses initiative, becomes passive, or gets stuck in complaint, they feel his energy fading. A man who takes care of himself, dresses with style, keeps his sense of humor and curiosity. He radiates vitality. And vitality has no age, it's a choice. The biggest shift you need to understand after 45 is that you no longer attract through what you promise, but through what you embody. Your words matter less than your energy. If you talk about balance, but your eyes look tired, she won't feel coherence. If you say you're fine but project frustration, she'll sense it. Attraction at this stage no longer depends on appearance. It depends on how authentically you inhabit your age. When you accept who you are without letting your fire die out, you become magnetic. Don't try to compete with youthful enthusiasm, show depth. Don't try to look young, show maturity without dullness. At 45, your advantage is clarity, experience, and your ability to hold a calm, engaging conversation with humor. But that advantage only works if your light is still on. She doesn't want a teenager, but she doesn't want a lifeless man either. She wants to feel that life still moves when she's with you. That's true mature attraction. In the next chapters, we'll explore the specific mistakes that make a man lose respect after this age. But remember this, attraction doesn't grow old. It withers when you stop feeding your life energy. Keep your curiosity, your passion, and your direction alive, and your age will become your strength, not your limitation. When a man seeks approval, no matter how hard he tries, he always ends up projecting neediness. And neediness, in a woman's eyes, is never attractive. It's as if all your energy is directed outward, waiting for her to confirm your worth. The irony is that the more you try to please, the more respect you lose. Women aren't looking for perfection or submission. They're drawn to a steady presence that doesn't depend on their validation. The problem is that many men confuse the desire to connect with the need to be accepted. And in that confusion, they lose their center. We've already understood that attraction comes from a balance between confidence and mystery. Seeking approval breaks that balance because it hands your power over to someone else. Every unnecessary message, every over-explanation, every attempt to do everything right so you don't upset her, tells her you need her approval to feel at ease. She might feel flattered at first, but soon she senses the emotional weakness behind it, not human vulnerability, but lack of grounding. A man who needs to be liked isn't choosing, he's begging to be chosen. Real connection happens when you show up as you are, calmly, effortlessly. But that's only possible when you already feel enough on your own. When you have a life, purpose, and emotional support beyond her. Emotional independence isn't coldness, it's maturity. A man who can enjoy solitude radiates abundance, and abundance is magnetic. To a woman, that kind of man isn't competing for attention. He's sharing his energy freely. Seeking approval also shows up in your body, in the way you lean toward her when you talk, how you justify your decisions, how you search for her eyes to check if she agrees. That nonverbal language overwhelms her, because what attracts her isn't your constant giving, it's your stability. If she feels she can throw you off balance with a single word or gesture, she loses respect. That's why every time you react from anxiety, remember, you don't need to prove anything, just hold your center. A healthy connection is born from balance. You're not there to impress, but to share your world. You're not there to ask permission at every step, but to offer direction. When you speak from truth instead of need, your voice changes, your eyes change, and the way she perceives you changes too. You don't need to beg for attention, you just need to remember your worth. Approval is begged for, connection is sparked. If you focus on creating genuine experiences, on enjoying the conversation, on observing her without the need to be liked, attraction will appear on its own. She doesn't want a perfect man, she wants one who feels comfortable being himself, without hiding his flaws or exaggerating his strengths. A man who isn't trying to please, but to connect calmly. That kind of energy is irresistible because it radiates abundance, not lack. And before we continue, I want you to take a moment. If this content is helping you, I invite you to subscribe, like, and leave a comment with your name and country, so I know where in the world you're joining this community from. I always read the comments, and it truly helps me to learn from your personal experiences and insights. This space grows because of you, and every word you share there makes a difference and keeps this work alive. There's a very fine line between being attentive and being predictable. Many men cross it without realizing, thinking that constant attention is the same as respect. But when you're always available, she stops valuing you, not because she doesn't appreciate your attention, but because unlimited abundance loses its worth. It's like a perfume you no longer notice because you wear it every day. Attraction needs space, pauses, and air. A man who's always ready, always attentive, always responding instantly, stops being an emotional challenge and becomes a boring certainty. So far, we've seen how seeking approval kills your magnetism. Being too available has the same effect, but on an energetic level. When you don't have your own rhythm, your own projects, your own moments of absence, you radiate dependence. A woman can feel when her presence has become your entire world, and while that might sound romantic, it actually creates pressure. She starts feeling like she has to measure her words and her tone because any distance unsettles you, and that pushes her away. Respect comes from balance, not from total surrender. Constant availability also kills mystery. Part of attraction lives in anticipation, in that space where she wonders what you're doing or thinking. If every time she reaches out you're there, if you always agree, if you never set limits, the relationship goes flat. Controlled absence, well-managed emotional distance, keeps the tension alive. It's not about ignoring her, but about showing that your life doesn't stop when she's not around. That projects independence and mature desire. Being selective with your time is a form of self-respect. Not every message deserves an immediate reply. Not every request needs an automatic yes. When you prioritize your own space and activities, you're not being selfish, you're asserting value. Women can tell the difference between a man busy with purpose and a man busy avoiding himself. The first attracts them, the second confuses them. When your schedule has structure, your boundaries become clear, and she feels she's with a man who has direction. A common mistake is thinking that if you pull back a little, she'll lose interest. In reality, the opposite happens. Brief, consistent absence creates intrigue, and intrigue fuels attraction. It's that small space where she can miss you that reignites her desire. But for that to work, your distance must come with coherence. You're still emotionally present, but you don't rely on her attention to feel valid. That's the difference between indifference and balance. Remember this: being available doesn't mean having no life. Attraction stays alive when your world remains interesting, even without her in it. Keep your passions, your routines, your friendships. That's what makes you complete and magnetic. You don't need to be there all the time to be loved. You need to be someone whose presence carries weight. When you learn to manage your energy, her interest grows again because she feels she's choosing you, not that she already has you. And deep down, that's what we all want, to feel the other person is still free to stay. Don't always be there. Let her come to you. And when she does, let her find a fulfilled man, not one waiting around. That contrast between closeness and distance is the silent language of mature attraction. When a man feels the need to justify every word or decision, he unknowingly projects insecurity, and that's the third mistake. Over-explaining is a subtle way of asking for emotional permission, and it kills mystery. Women can sense the difference between a man who speaks to share and one who speaks to calm his anxiety. And when they feel a man is over-explaining, they lose interest, because what attracts them isn't logic, but the emotion that man awakens. A man who feels secure doesn't need to fill the silence. He trusts his presence. So far, we've seen how being overly available makes you predictable. Talking too much has the same effect, but on a communicative level. There's nothing less attractive than over-explaining, justifying why you did something, detailing every step, clarifying a joke she already understood, insisting that you meant no harm. All of that breaks the tension. Silence, when used well, creates intrigue. Excessive words destroy it. When you learn to say less and observe more, your communication starts to project calm and emotional control. Attraction isn't sustained by speeches, but by energy. A man who knows when to stay quiet shows mastery over himself. The one who feels the need to convince, prove, or win arguments drains himself. Women, on the other hand, connect with men who listen without needing to dominate. Because attentive silence, the kind that's full of presence, not emptiness, radiates strength. It's not the same to be silent because you don't know what to say, as it is to remain quiet because you know your gestures already spoke. Talking too much can also ruin the magic of an early conversation. If in the first few meetings you reveal your entire story, your achievements, your wounds, your frustrations, you leave no room for her to discover you. Attraction thrives on discovery. If you give it all away too soon, you take away the excitement of exploration. Remember, mystery isn't about hiding, it's about revealing in doses. Leaving small hints, small pauses, creates that feeling of, I want to know more. That's what keeps interest alive. A very common mistake among older men is trying to explain their intentions too soon. They say things like, I don't want you to think I'm just looking for something casual, or I just want to be clear. But that need to anticipate the other person's reaction comes from fear of rejection. What seems like honesty is often anxiety in disguise. True clarity doesn't need to be said. It's shown through consistency. When your actions align with your words, you don't have to explain so much. Speaking less doesn't mean becoming closed off. It means speaking with weight. Every word should have intention. When you say something, do it calmly, with a steady tone and confident gaze. One phrase spoken from your center is worth more than 10 justified by fear. Women don't remember your arguments. They remember how you made them feel while you spoke. If you project calm, that emotion stays with them. If you project insecurity, that stays too. Ultimately, mature attraction isn't about convincing, it's about resonating. You don't need to explain everything to be understood. Sometimes it's enough to simply be there, observing, letting the moment breathe. Silence isn't emptiness, it's a space where energy moves, where she can feel your presence without you saying a word. And it's precisely in that space where respect and desire become one. Mature attraction can't be forced, it's built. But many men, afraid of missing their chance, try to rush physical contact or intimacy before there's a real emotional connection. This is the fourth mistake. Most do it out of anxiety, not intuition. And while it may look like desire, what it actually communicates is insecurity. A woman can sense when a man acts from urgency instead of calm. That haste breaks the natural tension and turns what could have been a magnetic moment into something awkward or even invasive. So far, we've seen how talking too much or being overly available kills attraction. Trying to move physically too soon has the same effect, but on a more intimate level. Attraction, when forced, stops feeling natural. Women trust men who know how to read the rhythm, who notice their signals, who respect pauses. That sensitivity isn't weakness, it's emotional mastery. It's the kind of calm control that makes her feel both safe and drawn to you at the same time. Feminine desire isn't triggered only by touch or words, but by how she feels around you. If your energy is relaxed, your gaze intentional but not hurried, your movements confident but not invasive, the atmosphere becomes charged. If, on the other hand, your energy vibrates with the anxiety of getting a result, she feels it and pulls away. The key lies in observation, in seeing how she reacts, in reading her body language, in noticing whether she leans in or steps back. When you learn to wait for the right signal, your presence becomes more attractive because it projects control and respect. This isn't about repressing your desire, it's about channeling it. Masculine sexual energy is powerful, but it only becomes magnetic when it's directed with calm. When urgency fades, magnetism appears. A woman senses that you don't need physical contact. You enjoy it when it happens naturally. That difference completely changes how she perceives you, no longer as someone seeking something, but as a man offering something. And in terms of attraction, that changes everything. Many older men make the mistake of trying to validate their masculinity through a woman's physical response. They chase her desire to feel alive, but that need to prove energy gives them away. True mature masculinity doesn't need to prove itself, it's felt. It's in the way you speak, the way you move, and the way you know when to stop. A conscious pause generates more desire than any rushed advance. Attraction isn't measured by how quickly the first kiss or the first intimate moment happens, but by the depth of the connection that forms. The more you respect the timing, the stronger the chemistry grows. There's no greater seduction than a man who can wait without fear of losing, because when she sees you can hold the tension without breaking it, she recognizes that you're in control, and that control, in her emotional language, means safety, leadership, and genuine desire. Remember this, respect doesn't kill attraction, it amplifies it. Calm doesn't cool desire, it deepens it. And when a woman senses that you're not rushing, but fully present, your energy becomes irresistible. You don't need to jump ahead to create desire. You just need to master the rhythm, enjoy the process, and trust your ability to inspire interest without forcing it. That is the true power of the mature man. Nothing kills attraction faster than a man still carrying the weight of his past. Talking about exes, disappointments, or betrayals might feel like honesty or emotional release, but it actually sends a very different message, that you haven't truly closed that chapter. And when a woman senses that you're still emotionally tied to someone, even by a small mention, she stops seeing you as available. In that moment, desire fades, and she begins to see you as someone still dealing with unfinished business. So far, we've seen how rushing, over-explaining, or being too available weakens your magnetism, but talking about the past without processing it steals your presence. A man who carries resentment comes across as tense and heavy, and that energy is the opposite of desire. You might be interesting, well-spoken, and attractive, but if your conversation is filled with comparisons, complaints, or bitterness, all of that disappears. Mature attraction needs emotional lightness, not accumulated weight. When your past takes up too much space, there's no room left for something new to grow. Resentment shows even if you don't mention it directly. It's in your tone, in how you speak about women, in the sarcasm of your comments, or in the suspicion with which you interpret everything. If every time a woman takes a while to reply you think, they're all the same, you're not living in the present. You're repeating your past. Attraction doesn't come from judgment, but from openness. No one wants to get close to someone radiating unresolved wounds. That kind of energy fills the connection with tension and bitterness. Closing a chapter doesn't mean forgetting, it means redefining it. A man who's learned from his experiences radiates maturity, not resentment. You can talk about your past relationships if you do it from a place of growth, not pain. If you say something like, "That time in my life taught me a lot about what I want now," you're showing evolution. But if you say, "I'll never trust anyone again," you're showing hurt. And unresolved pain doesn't attract. It sparks pity or distance, but never desire. Women can feel the difference between a man who remembers calmly and one who remembers angrily. The first projects balance, the second, emotional baggage. Attraction thrives where the energy feels light, where the present feels free. That's why, before you start dating again or meeting someone new, make sure you've cleaned up your inner story. Once you do, your eyes, your touch, and your tone change completely. It becomes clear that you're at peace, and peace in a man reads as strength. Sharing your pain with a woman you've just met doesn't create empathy, it creates distrust. She doesn't want to be your therapist, she wants to feel she can admire you. And admiration isn't possible for a man still living in his past. So whenever you feel tempted to talk about how badly things went before, remember, you're not there to heal, you're there to connect. And true connection only happens from calmness. When you leave resentment behind, your energy becomes clear and it shows in your presence. You no longer speak from the wound, but from wisdom. That shift completely changes how others perceive you. A man who's healed doesn't need to say it. His calm proves it. And calmness in a woman's eyes is one of the most powerful forms of attraction. Attraction begins long before you say a word. Your presence speaks for you, and your body is the first language a woman reads. Many men, once they pass 45, believe their experience and maturity are enough to make up for physical neglect. But the truth is, a lack of care for your appearance communicates something deeper, that you've stopped taking care of yourself, that you no longer value yourself. And if you don't value yourself, she won't be able to see you as someone worth admiring. Attraction isn't vanity, it's visible self-respect. So far, we've talked about mindset, energy, and emotion. This point focuses on form, because form, whether you realize it or not, supports substance. The way you walk, how you dress, how you take up space, or how you use your voice says more than any clever phrase. A man who moves slowly, without intention or with poor posture, projects fatigue. On the other hand, a man who stands tall, makes calm eye contact, and smiles with confidence radiates strength. It's not about having a perfect body, it's about your body reflecting presence. Mature attraction doesn't require a youthful look, it requires coherence. If your age says experience but your appearance says neglect, there's a disconnect that kills chemistry. It's not about fashion, it's about self-respect. A woman doesn't expect you to dress like you're 20, but she does expect you to look like a man who still cares about looking good, smelling good, and showing up well. Personal care is a silent message that says, I know who I am, and I value myself. Body language can sabotage you too. If your shoulders slump, your hands shake when you talk, or you avoid eye contact, all of that communicates instability. Women perceive posture as a form of leadership. A straight back and a steady voice spark more attraction than any compliment. The way you move determines how she feels around you. Slow, intentional movements combined with a steady gaze create calm and desire. Clumsy, tense, or nervous movements create discomfort. The mistake lies in believing attraction is maintained only by the story you tell. In reality, it's sustained by the story you project without words. A man who takes care of his body shows discipline and self-love, qualities women associate with stability and leadership. You don't need to hit the gym every day, but you do need to look alive. Your energy shows through your body. If you're tense, it's obvious. If you're at peace, that shows too. The way you use your voice is another crucial element. A rushed, high-pitched, or overly apologetic tone conveys anxiety. A firm, steady, naturally varied tone conveys confidence. You don't need to speak loudly, you need to speak with weight. What truly attracts isn't volume but the calm authority behind your words. Taking care of your appearance and body language isn't superficial. It's a form of respect for yourself and for her. When a woman sees a mature man who still takes pride in his presentation, she doesn't think he's trying to look young. She sees a man who still feels alive. And that, more than any compliment, keeps her interest. Remember, your body is your silent introduction. Let every gesture, every glance, and every word communicate the same message, that you're still a man with purpose and vitality. Many men start a relationship with strength, presence, and direction, but little by little, without realizing it, they give up their frame. They stop making decisions, stop setting boundaries, stop leading their own rhythm, and begin to move according to the woman's desires or moods. They believe this is love, that full adaptation is proof of commitment. But when a man gives up his frame, he loses respect. And without respect, there's no attraction. The relationship may continue, but not with the same energy. So far, we've seen how the previous mistakes erode a man's image. This one, however, dismantles it completely. The frame is the invisible structure that holds your value in a relationship. It's your way of acting, your direction, your decisions, your ability to stay firm without being forceful. When you lose it, everything becomes unbalanced. The woman doesn't stop loving you, but she starts to take control. And even if she does it with good intentions, subconsciously she loses admiration. No woman wants to feel like a man's compass. She respects him more when he already knows his own direction. Losing the frame usually begins with small gestures, agreeing to things you don't like to avoid conflict, staying silent when something bothers you, changing your plans to avoid tension. It seems harmless, but it sends a clear message that your peace depends on her approval. Over time, that behavior makes you predictable and emotionally weak. And when a woman feels she can dominate the dynamic, desire fades. She might stay, but her energy shifts from attraction to control, and control never creates desire. Maintaining your frame doesn't mean being rigid or authoritarian. It means staying centered without losing empathy. It means you listen, understand, and negotiate, but without abandoning your values. It means you don't get pulled into her emotional swings, but instead offer stability through your own. That calm strength, that ability to hold direction in chaos, is what truly attracts. Not because you impose your will, but because she feels she can trust you even when things get uncertain. Respect is built when your words and actions align. If you say you need space, take it. If something bothers you, express it calmly. If you make a promise, keep it. Every act of consistency strengthens your frame, and every time you give in out of fear of upsetting her, you weaken it. Over time, that makes you invisible. Women don't respect men who always adapt. They respect those who can adapt without losing themselves. Your frame isn't something you impose, it's something you sustain. It's not about arguing to be right. It's about maintaining direction even in disagreement. She may test you, challenge you, or question you. That's natural. What matters is that you don't react emotionally, but respond with calm authority. Mature attraction happens when she sees you don't need her approval to stay centered. That's what makes you magnetic. Remember, giving up your frame isn't an act of love, it's an act of self-abandonment. True love doesn't ask you to dissolve, it asks you to share your strength. A man who knows how to stay grounded inspires respect, desire, and stability. And when she senses that your energy remains firm, even within the relationship, she feels she's not just with a partner, but with a complete man. That's the difference between loving with dependence and loving with presence. Now let's talk about how to get that first date and how to keep attraction alive in the long run. Getting a first date isn't about luck or persistence. It's about connection. Most men think they need to impress or convince, when in reality, what a woman wants is to feel both curiosity and ease. That mix comes from a man who doesn't rush, who communicates naturally, and who projects coherence between his words and his energy. The date starts long before you meet. It begins in how you handle the conversation, your tone, your sense of humor, and above all, the calm you convey. If your energy is relaxed, she feels it and lowers her guard. If you're anxious or overcompensating, she shuts down. So far, we've talked about how respect is lost and how to rebuild your frame. Now, it's time to create something new, a date that opens the path to a healthy connection. The secret isn't about planning something expensive or grand. It's about creating an atmosphere where both of you can be authentic. Choose places that encourage conversation, a quiet cafe, a walk, something low pressure and without distractions. Show up with curiosity, not conquest. If your goal is to enjoy the moment and get to know her without expectations, the interaction will flow naturally. Attraction ignites when a woman feels that you're also deciding whether you like her, not when she senses that you'd do anything for her approval. During the date, your body keeps speaking. Maintain eye contact, smile naturally, and listen attentively. Avoid talking about your achievements, your exes, or your frustrations. Focus on what's happening in the present. Lightness and calm create more attraction than any rehearsed story. If a positive tension arises, don't break it with nervous chatter. Let silence do its work. And if the moment comes to get closer, move slowly, paying attention to her cues. Respect, when well balanced, can be deeply seductive. But the real challenge isn't getting the date, it's maintaining interest over time. A mature relationship thrives when attraction and trust grow together. If after the first encounter you start messaging too much, insisting, or adapting to everything she wants, you'll lose your essence. Keep your life, your routines, and your purpose intact. Attraction isn't sustained through constant gestures, but through consistency. A woman respects a man who continues his path and includes her, not one who changes direction to follow hers. Long-term attraction is built on 3 pillars: admiration, desire, and peace. Admiration grows from your ongoing development. She sees you evolving without dependency. Desire renews itself when you maintain your individuality and remain unpredictable. And peace emerges when both of you can simply be without fear or competition. When those 3 elements are present, the relationship matures. It becomes strong, grounded, and emotionally free. There's no need to chase when both people choose each other calmly. Being an attractive man after 45 isn't about looks or speeches, it's about authenticity. Your age isn't a disadvantage, it's your greatest advantage when used wisely. You have experience, composure, and perspective, qualities many younger men haven't yet developed. Use them to build relationships with purpose, not to relive old insecurities. A healthy bond doesn't come from trying to be liked, it comes from being congruent. And when you achieve that, women don't just respect you, they feel safe with you because they recognize something rare, a man with direction, calm, and fire. That balance, once mastered, turns any date into the beginning of a story worth continuing. Attraction, respect, and desire don't fade with age. What changes is how you sustain them. At 45, what makes you attractive is no longer the energy of youth, but the serenity of your presence, the clarity of your purpose, and the fire you keep alive within you. What makes you lose respect isn't time, it's the small actions that show you've stopped believing in yourself. A woman can forgive mistakes, but never a lack of direction. So whenever you feel that something's cooling down, or that she doesn't look at you the same way, don't focus on what she's changed. Ask yourself if you're still centered. Today, you've seen that mature attraction has nothing to do with chasing or giving in, but with maintaining the balance between confidence and desire. Each mistake, seeking approval, talking too much, being too available, rushing things, living in the past, neglecting yourself, or losing your frame, isn't an isolated failure, but a symptom of something deeper, disconnection from yourself. And when you return to yourself, When you remember who you are and what you're worth, everything changes, because women aren't drawn to men who try too hard, but to men who know themselves. A man who doesn't seek approval, but connection, who doesn't ask for respect, but inspires it. If you've made it this far, thank you for being here. It means you're willing to grow, to look at yourself honestly, and to reclaim that magnetism that never left. It was only asleep. I invite you to subscribe, hit like, and leave a comment with your name and country so I can see where in the world you're joining this community from. I read every comment, and every word from you motivates me to keep creating this space for reflection and growth. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for choosing to evolve. See you in the next video, where we'll keep refining that balance between desire, values, and presence, the essence of a true man with a strong frame.